So folks, in today's 10 Minutes to Your Health, we look at digital detox. I have no idea what that is. Joining us to dissect this topic is a chiropractic neurologist, Olympian, Dr. Neil Gardner. Sir Neil.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I am wonderful.
It is amazing to see you. Happy New Year to
you. You know, because of the guilt,
what?
I left my phone. Because we're talking about digital detox.
Very good.
Right?
Excellent.
So I left my phone. I had my phone the entire time, but because I knew I was talking to Dr. Neil, Olympian, I made sure I put it away. But anyway,
Very good. Very good.
Which is what that means, digital detox.
Yes, it's the same way that you will detoxify yourself from any negative chemicals that we put into our bodies through food or what we put on our skin and so on. It's good to get rid of some of these things that harm us electronically as well.
How are we harmed by a tablet, a phone, being on WhatsApp, being on...
Sure.
How are we harmed?
So there are different categories. One is the emotional aspect, the social aspect, the physical. Emotionally, you have a lot of social comparisons that take place. Persons are on their devices, they see people glammed up, and then they appear on the camera and they think that's how they are when they roll out of bed. And then they compare themselves to them. And so the rate of depression and self-loathing and so on is really high because of that. The social aspect of it is also important because what we find happening is that persons are no longer sitting together having a face-to-face conversation. Now, FaceTime is the new face-to-face, and texting is the way that we communicate with each other.
So you'll see people having dinner, and everybody stays so...
Boy, Neville, about 10 years ago when we came back to Jamaica, a little over 10 years, 15 almost, we went to the restaurant to have dinner, my wife and I, and we saw the young people then. They were sitting around the table, like 5 people would be around the table, everybody on their own devices, and they're all having their own conversations with whoever it is that they're talking to on their devices. And what I didn't realize was true is that sometimes these conversations are actually with the same people around the table.
Stop.
Yeah.
So you don't want to, I want to talk about you, but I don't want you here, so I text it to Janela. And
yeah, man.
She responds.
But not even that, though, they're all having a conversation with each other. So the three of us will be here sitting down.
Yeah.
We all have our phones on and we're talking to 6 other people, including each other.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So they're communicating, they're interacting, but it's a serious thing. And then physically, I did a show on TextNeck, when it used to be TextNeck, now it's DeviceNeck. Because what we find happening is that persons are on their devices for so long that their posture has started to change. So we have children. I took a picture of my niece once, and her phone was in her lap, and her body was down like this. And I took a side picture of her, and she was like over. Very dangerous. I mean, in the olden days, it used to be newspapers, but at least with newspaper, you'd be up here and ignoring everybody else around you. Now, with these devices, you're doubled over, you're here, it's not good.
Doc, you zoomed in on something that I wanted to ask about, and that is children.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about digital detox, are you suggesting that children should also be involved in that detox?
I think children should not be allowed to have a digital device.
What age?
That's really hard.
What age is children here?
Children, I don't think anybody should have one, to be honest.
No, but
certainly, I don't want to prescribe an age. You have to do what as a parent is reasonable for you. But what I see happening is this: the development of our brains, the frontal lobe, which is the executive function of our brain. That's where that comes from. That's not developed until for a girl in her about 15 years old, and for a boy probably 18, 19, mid-20s. We take longer. And if your frontal lobes are not developed, then your ability to separate reality from fiction is not very good. And so when you read something that is scary to a child, it's as if it's a real thing. When they get into the habit of swiping before they can even talk, they know how to swipe, and they start to become flooded with all these contrasting stimulation, then what do you think is going to happen to that child? When they come into the real world and we're having a conversation where we have to maintain focus and talk about a singular topic, that's not going to be possible for them anymore. because it's a constantly changing input that they're used to. And so when you start a child off like that, you're setting them up for isolation socially. You're setting them up for inability to maintain focus and attention. You're setting them up for inability to make eye contact with the other people in their lives. Because no longer do you have to sit in front of somebody and, address them physically. It's easy to now look behind a screen. And so the person on the other side is not seeing you. So there's no threat.
Dr. Neil, I hear this word so often, things evolve.
Things evolve.
Things evolve. When I was a younger person, we never had tablets and all kinds of stuff. So you get, I think the greatest invention is the internet, in my opinion.
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. Greatest for what?
That's my point. My point
exactly.
is it can be used for the right thing. So I'm hearing almost like it's a thing that you're saying. No,
not at all. So I'm glad you raised it that way, because my point is this. Technology should be our servant, not our masters. And unfortunately, it is dictating our lives. We're not using it to augment our lives. It is replacing aspects of our lives. And this is kind of what's happening on a macro scale as well when you look at what's happening in the job world and what's happening with AI. I mean, these are wonderful technologies, but what does it mean for humanity? People are going to be losing their jobs. People are going to be staying home. People are going to need to now depend on the government to take care of them because they don't have the training. Because most of the people now, children now, when they go to universities, they're not thinking about going into debt now for a degree. They're thinking, I can become an influencer on social media and I can make a lot of money without having any kind of training. And that's what they do. And when that rug gets pulled out from under them, then what? Because it will get pulled out.
Yeah, but again, I'm going back to this word evolve. I mean, I never had, what do you call it,
them things here. The only tablet you know around named Fenzik.
When you account and all kind of stuff. I mean, one time...
Calculator.
Yeah, calculator. We never have them.
Yeah, man, we have graph book and we have log book.
But I'm not certain that the calculator is a bad thing. It just,
no, not a bad thing.
Make you a little bit lazy, that instead of multiply 14 by 12, you just go to the calculator.
I remember, Neville, when I was younger, if somebody asked me, if I wanted somebody's phone number, I just asked them the phone number, and that's it. I don't have to write it down because I remember it. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you remember nobody's phone number.
Because them name in the phone.
Because them name in the phone. Yeah. And so these are things that we see. So, but that's the negative side of it. There are benefits to it that you pointed out, but the detoxing is important because it has become so rampant now that we're hurting ourselves and we're hurting our children. Yep. And so we want to be able to get rid of the overburdening of ourselves with these devices. Now, we don't want to get rid of our phones, but we want to put it in a way that is more deliberate. The use of it is more deliberate and more intentional.
Though? How do you detox?
So by spending time away from it.
Oh.
So more.
How long?
So, well, it would definitely vary for individuals, but what I would say is this. I'll give you a little strategy. Instead of waking up in the mornings and the first thing you do is go to your device, before you roll out of bed, before you say good morning to your loved one, you wake up in the mornings, open your eyes, you reach for your phone and see what messages came in. Delay that for a little bit. Give yourself about 20 minutes to just welcome the day, embrace the day, reflect on your prayer time or your meditation time or whatever it is. Say good morning to your loved one. Interact with those around you before you do that. So these are things that we want to try to do. Now, we have a retreat that we do offer digital detox. And I can give that number if you allow me.
Sure.
But that's a useful thing to do. But there are things that you can do on a micro level, individually, at home, by yourselves, with your family, spending time away from the device, replacing it rather than just rejecting it. So sometimes you might want to replace your device with a conversation with somebody in person. Time exercising, time doing different things physically, and going outside and spending time in nature. Walking, looking at the sky, observing the birds, listening to trees, everything. Mm-hmm. And then these things are going to be important for us.
What's the number?
The number is 876-497 2044.
And there's a retreat?
Yes, we do have digital detox that we offer at Mountain Peace. You can find us on Instagram at Mountain Peace JA or online mountainpeaceja.com.
Yeah.
Without using your devices.
I like an interview now, so I can't talk to you right now. So I call you when I'm gone, so I can't talk to you now. All right. Good to see you, my friend.
Always a pleasure.
Always. Chiropractic neurologist, Olympian, Dr. Neil Gardner. 10 minutes to your health. We'll do it again next Thursday.